There is no nobility in allowing yourself to be the target of someone's attack. Struggling and going without does not make you a good person. Enduring and smiling through the abuse does not make you a good person. Why is it that Black women find themselves constantly listening to people who tell them they are good people when they are seen suffering? When you know someone doesn't have your best interest at heart, why continue engaging with them? People constantly want to humble and harm Black women. We are told that males with money are evil, while males with little to no money are God's innocent gift to earth, despite the crime stats showing the opposite of that. It's gotten so extreme that males have taken to hiring mammies to make skits in order to publicly shame Black women to not stating what they do or don't like. Usually when someone is insulting a Black woman, it's never personal to her, but to the entire demographic, and they almost always mention money or anything money adjacent. The cost of hair and nails are brought up, which I find interesting, but that's a topic for another day. Typically words like ghetto or low class gets mentioned. So, I find it pretty amusing that the people trying so hard to tie Black women to the bottom and convince them it's good will always slip up and say how they really feel about it. They, in fact, do not respect working class people or Christians who have nothing but cling to prayer. You slumming with a male that can only pay a light bill will quickly be brought up to show how you don't deserve anything, not how you're a great normal woman helping to build a male up from the bottom. Struggle isn't always in a form of finances. Verbal and physical abuse is something no one is shocked to see happening to a Black woman now. This is possibly the worst thing Black women have allowed to be normalized. A Black woman, unfortunately, was unable to ban Black male music when she took it to the Supreme Court in the 90s, so the music continues and has since been embraced by most Black women. The music, legal hate speech against Black women, is fully allowed and publicly encouraged. One of the original contributors to these hateful lyrics now has a YouTube channel, a criminal record of course, and proclaims himself a great person for the Black community. His 1980s lyrics being, "What are you be, a boy or a girl? I'm proposing a bill at Capitol Hill to kill all bald-headed bees at will." Better yet, direct your attention to the 1940s prison work camp song with the lyrics, "I don't want no jet Black woman. She too mean. She too mean." Or the 1932 song Jet Black Woman by Josh White, who sings, "I got a woman so black, you can't tell when I black her eye. She's a nappy-headed woman, ugly as she can be." The verbal degradation and violent abuse that runs rampant is something Black women have been turning a blind eye to for a long time. There are actually paintings from the 14th century with European male artists depicting how even then, Black males have had a deep disdain and creepy behavior towards Black women. Some women prefer to give an excuse to their abusers by insisting they weren't raised right or insinuating they were brainwashed by white males to hate their own race. None of that is the case. The only logical explanation I could possibly come up with to wrap my head around Black women's lack of response to financial, verbal, and physical abuse is that they are coping. They genuinely do not know how to move through society while being stuck between groups of people who don't have their best interest at heart. As Black women can tell from the online behavior of Black males, these males' constant persistence to non-Black males to hate and attack Black women shows us they believe you will need them and cling to them if they get someone else to attack you and try to show themselves as defending you, or proclaiming as loud as possible they don't want to defend you and no one should ever want to do the crimes go unpunished. I believe by 2024, Black women should know to depend on themselves and only other like-minded Black women. Those who don't want to will continue to suffer even worse. Putting your trust into those who have always shown you they can't be trusted is a self-esteem issue and a very dangerous one. As mentioned in a previous blog, while the cost of living increases and the crime rates hike, Black women will be the primary target and victim to criminals lurking around. Black women refuse to defend themselves, refuse to defend other Black women when it counts, but instead seem to think crying about how they feel unprotected is going to make someone care about them. It's not. Black women are the only race of women who refuse to engage in even basic hypergamy with romantic relationships, completely missing the purpose of the institution of marriage. It doesn't exist for you to live a fairy tale life and flaunt a ring, but instead use it to your legal advantage to ensure you and your children will never go hungry. Surely you should find it odd that people who have more wealth than you are not subject to this screaming about how women should be happy with absolutely nothing. Normal people want to set their children up to have a better future. The level of outward hatred Black women get when they refuse to struggle is interesting to witness. The Black women in luxury content online was a harmless, cute way for Black women who prefer luxurious living to post about it social media. It was met with think pieces from other Black women with low self-esteem. One of the main detractors of this is known for also comparing Black women to males. Seeing Black women outside of the box we are constantly thrown in makes them uncomfortable. It is noticeable to mention that movements like this are typically met with disagreement from social justice warrior types of women who do not fit the standard of beauty in any culture. Though this content largely stopped being made over a year ago, I wasn't shocked to see a recent comment from a white woman arguing with a Black woman and stating that, quote, "You are the most unmarried group. You won't be liked or wanted by men no matter how much you campaign." I do find it interesting that a movement by Black women for Black women is seen as a campaign to other demographics, particularly to white males. It's seen as a brainwashing attempt instead of a benign and wholesome thing to promote to women. Compared to the 2012 era of constant slave movies and abusive mothers living in the projects, no Black women were seen portrayed in a role that didn't include struggling and abuse. According to some, this was the peak of cinema for Black women actresses. When I urge Black women to seek out ways for self-defense, I always include that they need to live in a city or state where they can legally defend themselves. The number of Black women in prison for defending themselves against an abuser is astonishing. It led me to believe that Black women refuse to protect themselves against Black male violence, possibly because they don't want to be imprisoned. Maybe they fear being seen as an oppressor, harming an innocent protected class. Maybe these women fear the lack of legal representation they can get will afford them harsher sentences. Or maybe they genuinely value the lives and safety of their abusers over their own. For hundreds and thousands of years, Black women have endured abuse and extreme violence at the hands of people who share their skin color. This harm has been largely ignored and covered up, and in the West, it's not given priority over more obvious problems like racial abuse from Caucasians. The entirety of Black History Month, you will hear nothing from Black women about their foremothers. Women who have extensively documented the torture they endured from the males they were forced to be around. Instead, the same ancient males being lauded are the ones who have committed the disturbing crimes and gotten away with it. The creator of Juneteenth bragging about torturing a Black woman. The leader of the Black Panthers sexually assaulting young Black girls in the ghettos. His first wife, a possibly biracial or Black woman with light skin and light-colored hair, recently had a tape of hers go viral from the 70s. In this tape, she documents that the Black males she grew up around degraded the dark skin and Afro-textured hair of Black women. The dark-skinned Hotep girls of America are nowhere to be seen when all this information is brought to light. So here we have Black women refusing to acknowledge harm being done onto them. Yet, these women are the face of fighting for social justice. The social justice warriors, Hoteps, Insta-baddies, community-driven mammies, etc. are suddenly quiet as church mouses. Why should anyone take this demographic seriously to fight for anything when they refuse to fight for themselves? After years of removing myself from social media, I recently made a return. I was shocked to find myself entering younger left-wing spaces and witnessing how comfortable people were disrespecting Black girls and women. It was my understanding from stereotypes that these girls were hardcore civil rights wannabes, and they shook down anyone that dared to disrespect Black girls or women. To my surprise, the disrespect was turned up a notch and very blatant, Now, looking back after a couple years of watching this play out online, I understand the mammy archetype more. As I mentioned in my previous post, the mammy gives off the persona of constantly fighting and defending herself, while never actually doing it. These women are very easy to find at a BLM rally defending a male criminal or defending another race of people. They refuse to defend black girls or women outside of casually saying we need to be protected. They are not willing to actually do anything to protect the future generations of black girls or themselves. The perpetual conversations they have are very superficial. Anyone paying a closer attention to this after it's pointed out can see why black women have been in the position they've been in for hundreds or thousands of years, and it's only getting worse. There is a different side of black women who now know better thanks to social media, and are at a point where they are ready to separate themselves from black women who want to keep other black women down. Black male-identified mammies don't feel comfortable with black girl trends online showcasing anything other than masculinity or protecting others. No comfortably living or carefree lifestyles outside of being a social justice warrior to distract from the problems in their own backyard. This is not an American black women problem, but it's global. Black women who are ready to work for themselves and other like-minded black women have to realize that these women who do not have your best interest at heart will always find themselves trying to enter your spaces. What I have witnessed also in specific communities like the divestment community is that these women will attach themselves and repeat talking points that they've heard without actually believing in it. There's several, if not the majority of these women who have recently shown their true colors, unfortunately taking advantage of the vulnerability of black women online. They are surrounded by constant showcasing of the violence and destruction that black women have had to deal with. You can witness when you pay closer attention they don't really care. One of them most recently have slipped up and stated, she can see why black women are abused domestically, and this was an older black woman referring to black girls having a bad attitude. To reiterate, these women can blatantly see the harm being done, and they just do not care. They genuinely value of the lives and emotions of their sons and criminals males over not only themselves little black girls. Why am I talking about this? I just want to make it clear as to why these problems have been allowed to exist for so long. Black women are victims of a lot of issues coming at them externally. However, in my opinion, today in 2023, there should be no excuse for any black women to see a problem as important as their safety being at risk and ignoring or trying to cover it up. One of the things that I typically think of when watching content online is that these typically older women have strong feelings about women they refer to as preferences, and they seem to care more about not being preferred than their life being at risk. They care more about whether a male will validate them than the safety of themselves or their daughters. It's very dangerous and disturbing. When it comes to violence against black women, one of the things that I've noticed online for a couple years now is black women saying things such as we are not protected. This has creepily been repeated in random comment sections, and I rarely have seen other black women comment on how weird it is for black women to keep repeating this publicly. Why do you want the world to keep hearing over and over that they can harm you as much as they want, and nobody will do anything about it? Do you not think that it would give thoughts to another group of people? Do you not think that someone who wants to take out their frustrations on someone else could possibly see that as an invitation? I genuinely think these women just do not care. They want to be protected, and they want to get the attention that comes from complaining. From complaints about their dating life to complaints about getting kidnapped and no one caring, they don't really strive for real solutions. But black women are not a monolith, and there are some black women who actually do want a solution, so what answer can they have? What they can do is physically and mentally remove themselves from the majority who do not serve them, especially from other black women that will 100% help normalize violence and protect criminals. The black male community's no snitching culture is a good example of this. All throughout the country, with the black people who have never even met each other, is an unspoken rule that if anyone, be it adult or child, speaks against the black male, they will be the problem, not the criminal himself.